What is happening, y'all? John Blade 101 here again, and I am back with another video. And I'm hyped right now, if you could not tell. I have just seen Captain America Civil War, people, and downright, it was, in my opinion, the best comic book movie yet. For Marvel, at least. Or maybe in the video, I may argue maybe my personal favorite comic movie of all time. Spider-Man, Black Panther, the Sokovia Records, which is what they're fighting against. Everything is culminating to this moment. It's all these years, the different ideologies of Iron Man, Captain America, going head-to-head with different Avengers being picked from side to side. It's mind-blowing. It's mind-shattering. It makes... I'm hyped, okay? It was a good movie. You did good, Marvel. You did good. You've really given us a great product. Money well spent. I saw it in IMAX 3D even, and if you're feeling bad about seeing movies in IMAX 3D, don't worry about going to see that movie. See this movie like in standard definition, not standard definition, but standard ways. IMAX made this movie. Screen was huge. I was just like in the background. I was like, whoo, 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 whoo. It was good. All right, like wait, I've kind of just had my nerdgasm already. So let's just cut over to the review and I get more into depth about this movie because it's fresh on my mind. I want to make sure I give it all to you guys really. So be careful. Minor spoilers here, people. Really not that big, but still something you should be aware of if you want to see the rest of the review. I'm not going to spoil it for you because it really just came out just yesterday, and I don't want to spoil anything for you guys. So just make sure that you guys go see the movie. Definitely go see the movie. Make sure it gets just throw your money at it. Go see it a second time. You've already seen it already. Go see it again because we need more movies like this with this tone, these characters, and we want to show other companies how they do the superhero movies. This is how we like it. We want our characters, we want to care about them, we want to do stuff like that. So, yeah, let me just stop rambling on and let's just get on to the review. Finally got past my nerdish ramble at the beginning of this video. It's time for me to really talk in depth about this movie. This movie I've been waiting for over a year, ever since it was announced. I've just loved this idea of seeing Captain America and Iron Man fighting. That's just something I wanted to see put to film, and it was done perfectly here. And pretty much, I can't really say anything that would really be different from people have already said, but I think giving my own spin on it would be enough. And I think that this movie just does a lot of things really well. I feel like that the struggle between Captain America and Iron Man was just completely, it flowed. You could understand why people were doing what they were doing. Their characters were just so, they were themselves. There was no contrivances I don't really think of in the plot. I feel like these characters were talking like they would normally. I don't think they were just like, their personalities were taken out of context and like mushed around and kind of like they weren't themselves. No, they were all themselves. And if you think that this movie's too big with all the Avengers, like you saw Ant-Man and some of the other characters in this movie, don't have to worry, guys. Every character gets a good amount of screen time. Every character gets their justice. It's just really good. It can, especially with the new additions, Black Panther and Spider-Man, which I'll talk about later. But let me just kind of get into the gist of this film. So basically, I'm not going to get too specific, but basically at the beginning of the movie, they're hunting down Crossbones, and if you don't know, he was Romulo from the Winter Soldier. He had a building dropped in his face, and he kind of just hates the Avengers. So basically, they were tracking him down, and a lot of people end up dying. Okay, and they blame, the world blames the Avengers, and that's how the Sokovia Records, the Sokovia Record shows up, which is kind of like the military trying to get control of the Avengers, telling them where to go only after they've authorized it, and all this sort of things. Tony Stark, feeling guilty from the events of the last movie, Age of Ultron, everyone was in, feels guilty about this, and he wants, he's like full front, like, I'm for this, and then maybe any problems they have with it, they can be amended later. Now, Steve Rogers is against this completely because he's kind of against these government, like, institutions and stuff like that, because they can be corrupt, because if you don't know, from Winter Soldier, similar thing happened with Hydra. Never really felt completely comfortable with all this, people trying to tell them what to do to control. Captain America feels like even if they do fail, they still, the safest hands are there, like he says in the trailer. That's pretty much how Captain America goes. Now, that's the basic thing between, I'm not going to get into how all this stuff comes to a head, but it is done really well. I'm going to tell you that right now. The conflict between Tony Stark and Steve Rogers was done perfecto. Really good. I really loved it. I feel like both sides have a lot of merit to them, and I think that that's one of the movie's biggest strengths, is that the both sides of the argument have legitimate points. It's not just one side against the other, like, one side is clearly better. No, both sides have a lot of good reasons for what they're doing. It's not one-sided, and that's something I really enjoy. It's completely not one-sided. You can still go away from this film saying, well, I think maybe Iron Man was right. Well, I think maybe Cap was right. That's one thing I really want to do, because it actually shows that people are thinking about this movie, and the movie made me think. Superhero movies make people think. Some people don't really expect that kind of complexity in a superhero film, but this film did it, and it did it really well. Now, I'm not sure if I'm spoiling anything here, but this is minor if you guys haven't seen it. But Baron Zemo, or Zemo, is in this movie. He's really not anything like his comic book counterpart. He's played really well. I'm not sure what this guy's actor is, but it's like Daniel Bruhl or something like that. Bruhl, I'm not sure how it's pronounced, but this guy does a really good job as Zemo. Well, this version of Zemo. His plan actually is really good. And I have to say, this Zemo, he's my second favorite villain in the Marvel movie MCU, not the the extended universe with the TV stuff like that, but it's my favorite second favorite Marvel movie villain. His motivations, which you'll find down later on down the road, he does a really good job. You feel for him. He's a really good villain. He's really well written, complex, stuff like that. Really, really good villain. Now I gotta talk about everyone wants to know about the new additions, Black Panther and Spider-Man. Now I'll talk about Black Panther first, because he's introduced first. So Black Panther, he's in this movie, he's driven by a very personal thing that happens really early on in the movie, and it transfers over to all these things, because Bucky, the Winter Soldier, is in the movie, and he got some beef with these characters, very personal beef with these people, and so that's how he gets kind of thrown into the narrative. And I have to say that Black Panther, even though he's a new character, he's done a lot of justice, and actually he's one of the best characters in the film. He's awesome, completely awesome fighting style. He's just completely, one of the best characters in the movie. I can't really, what's his name? Chadwick Boseman, who plays him, he does a really good job. He even has like the accent, like an African type accent for Black Panther, which I would expect, because he's from Wakanda. But he does a really good job. I mean, Chadwick Boseman does a really great job as Black Panther. I can definitely see him as the character, and I cannot wait for his solo film later down the road. And so another thing I want to talk about is, of course, the big addition, Spider-Man. And if you haven't realized by look at my channel, like the intro, my avatar, stuff like that, Spider-Man is by far my favorite superhero of all time. Absolute favorite. He was one of my first superheroes. I love the guy to death. And I have to say that this is the best on-screen Spider-Man we've seen. This is pretty much, they just ripped him right out of the comics, put him on there. Tom Holland, who plays him, he does a fantastic job as Spider-Man. Completely has me convinced that he is Peter Parker. Does a great job. I can't really go into too much detail what he does in the movie, but when Iron Man finds him or whatever, you feel for him. He's very genuine, and I feel that's one of this movie's biggest strengths. All the characters feel genuine, and I think that's something you realize down the film. If you've watched the Marvel Cinematic Universe from the beginning, all these characters feel genuine, and I can't really. It's just really good. I can't really lie. And some of the newer additions, like Scarlet Witch and Vision, you really get into their characters in this movie. They're really good, well done characters. Elizabeth Olsen, who plays Scarlet Witch, and Paul Bettany, I believe that's how you pronounce it. He does a great job as Vision. Both of these characters are really good, even though they didn't get as much screen time as you may have liked in Age of Ultron. But these characters are really good. Scarlet Witch in particular has a lot of scenes in this movie which I think that you guys will like. She's one other complex character, and so is Vision. They have a connection in this movie. Scarlet Witch and Vision, they both have a really nice connection in the film, and I'm not going to spoil it to you, all that stuff, but it's still really good. And now, one thing I really got to talk about here, and I almost got to bring this review to a close. I don't want to be talking for hours on this thing, but the airport fight scene. The airport fight scene in Germany in the movie is by far the best action sequence between characters I've ever seen on film. Best comic book action scene, one of the best ones I've ever seen in any movie, and I've seen some movies that have some pretty awesome action scenes. It's really good. Every character gets enough time, screen time, fighting one another, and especially when you have Spider-Man and Black Panther. Oh my goodness, they're such a joy to watch. And Spider-Man is just, I love Spider-Man so much, so he's obviously my favorite part of the film, but it's downright almost perfect, that scene. Now, one little criticism I had at the film, and at least in the beginning, not going to take really not much off the score, but sometimes the film will cut from a scene a little bit quick, The transitions were a little bit fast at the beginning, but that it kind of slowed down throughout the film, so it wasn't like it was just like here, 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 here. But it was a little bit of something I noticed at the beginning. That doesn't really not going to affect my score too much. It's like a small little thing. It just cut pretty fast at the beginning, but like I said, it's still a really good film. I give it like a grade A recommendation, and I have no choice but to give it a 9 out of 10. 9.5 even. I'll give it an extra 5 points. I mean, the only thing it would have been a 10 just for that little the screen. I mean, the jumping around a little bit. I recommend you guys go see this movie in IMAX because the screen is so beautiful. It's perfect, man. This was my first film in IMAX actually. And I noticed the difference. You'll definitely notice the difference. Take your kid to go see this movie. Introduce him to all these characters: Spider-Man, Black Panther. He may not be as invested, which I'm not sure all kids are invested completely in the plot. But you, as an adult, if you've seen the movies, you'll be invested, and I think you'll definitely love it. These characters are so great, and I can't help but give this movie just a grade A recommendation. Yeah, 9.5 out of 10, guys. 9.5 out of 10. Alright then, this is John Blade 101, everybody, and I bid you a good day. Have a great day.